One of the biggest questions I get is what kinds of treats I use for training the service dogs in the videos that I post. Every single time I train a video or I post a video of me training a dog, I always get asked what kinds of treats I use. So I thought today I would just make a quick video, show you guys the treats that I use most regularly, as well as the treats that I use sometimes, and when I might reach for different treats. So let's just get started, right? Now, 95% of the time, when you see me training a dog on a video, I am just using dog food. This is what I use for 99% of the training if I am in my home, in my facility here, or anywhere on my own property. It's just plain old dog food. This, I think, is Canidae. That's what I've been feeding lately, but any brand that your dog eats is what you would use in place of this, right? So it's not special, it's not fancy, but I teach all of my dogs to work for their dog food most of the time. Now, with my advanced service dogs, this is all they're getting out in public as well. So this is really what I use for the huge majority of my training. Now, when I have a dog who is a little more difficult to motivate, needs a higher value reinforcer. If I am using a ton of treats at once, so if I'm working with a new dog out in public and I know we're going to go through a lot of treats, then what I reach for is Fresh Pet. So this is a refrigerated dog food. And I like it because most of the dogs I work with find this to be very high value. Like this is one of their favorite treats on the entire planet. But it is still a dog food, and so it is nutritionally balanced. So if I, for example, take a new service dog out into public and we go through a cup of this, I know that what he ate was also healthy. And if I don't feed him dinner tonight, he had a perfectly healthy meal while we were training. So I do use these when I am looking for something high value. I use these a lot. Now, this is expensive for dog food, like if you're going to feed it for food, but I do find that it is actually very comparable in price to any other prepackaged high value dog treat. So anything that, Zooks, or which I don't use a lot of, or any of those types of prepackaged treats, this is very comparable in price. Now they do have, it comes in two ways. So it comes in this little pelleted form. I don't know what to call it, but it's not pellets, like fresh food, but it comes in these like little nuggets. That's probably the word I'm looking for. I buy these because I find that they freeze really well. So they come in really big bags. So usually I buy a big bag and then I separate them out into little bags like this and put them in the freezer, because it does say on the package to use within 7 days of opening, and they mean that. It starts to smell off after about 7 days. So if you're not going to use it right away, you want to freeze it, but it does freeze well, and then you can just take it out of the freezer and use it again. They also sell it in a roll form, which is cheaper. You have to cut yourself, but I don't find that it freezes as well. When I put that into a baggie and then pull it out of the freezer, it does feel like the texture has changed. So I do use these instead of the rolls, but these are the two primary treats that I use. Dog food for most of my training, most of the time, and this Fresh Pet when I am looking for something high value or something that I need to be healthy because I know it's going to replace a huge amount of my dog's daily calorie intake for the day. So these are the two primary treats that I reach for. Now, as far as pre-packaged treats, I will also use just kind of anything that I feel like grabbing off the shelf occasionally. Zooks, Pepperoni, there's like Blue Buffalo has theirs. Like I'll grab those sometimes. I will also use like the dehydrated meat sometimes, or freeze dried. So I don't have any of that on me, but I'll put some pictures here in the video. So there are a lot of different brands of those. Those can be nice because they're high value, but they're also more shelf stable, so they can sit in your training bag overnight and be okay. Like if you leave this in your training bag overnight, you're probably going to regret it tomorrow. So I will use those things occasionally as well, but I do find them to be pricier and not as healthy as something like this. I will also very often use chicken, cooked chicken, or hot dogs. So hot dogs tend to be very high value, inexpensive, but also not very healthy. So if we're going to go through a whole cup of them, we have to weigh, it wasn't very healthy and now I don't need to feed my dog dinner. And so we've got to balance that. So I do use hot dogs quite often, but I do have to balance, health and calorie intake and things like that a little bit more closely with something like a hot dog. I used cooked chicken a lot. I will use any type of cooked meat or cheese, depending on the dog that I'm working with, the dog that's in front of me, depending on what their favorite food is. I may reach for cheese or chicken or hot dogs or something like that. So that's going to just depend. The final treat reinforcer that I do use regularly is jarred baby food. So this one is like chicken with gravy, and this one is like turkey with gravy. And they're a little inconvenient for training. Like if I'm going to go sit and then let them lick out of the jar and then down and let them lick out of the jar, it does absolutely work, but it's a little messy. You can put them in the syringes or the squeezy tubes. You can absolutely do that for training. So this does work for dogs who need a really high value reinforcer. Baby food can work really well also. What I use these for primarily is vet visits, husbandry training, that type of thing, where I want a really high value reinforcer. But with a puppy, for example, we go to the vet, they haven't had time for a lot of husbandry training because they're only like 8 or 10 weeks old, right? And I can go to the vet, open a jar of baby food and just hold it in front of my puppy, and he can lick out of it during the whole exam. He can lick out of it during vaccines, during blood draws, all of that stuff. And I'm helping to create a good experience. And I have found the huge majority of puppies really will just sit there and lick out of a jar of baby food and not even seem to notice that there is a vaccine or a exam or anything like that going on. Some do, but a huge majority will really just sit there and lick out of their jar of baby food. So those are the primary treats that I use. Like I said, mostly I'm just using dog food, you guys, like just plain old what I feed them every night for dinner. I do reach for fresh pet when I need a high value reinforcer, especially when I'm trying to balance health or calorie requirements. I do also reach for hot dogs, chicken, leftover steak, leftover anything like that. I will do prepackaged food or prepackaged treats when I need to. So I will use pepperoni because it's inexpensive. I'll use, anything like that. And then baby food is like the big guns. Like when I need something really, really high value, this is usually what I'm going to reach for. So if your dog has a favorite treat, go ahead and put that in the comments below, because every dog is different. So these are the things that have worked really well for the majority of the dogs that I work with. But some dogs really, don't like chicken at all, but they love cheese. I have had 1 or 2 dogs that won't eat fresh pet. They seem to think it's like a weird texture or something. So if your dog has a favorite treat, put that in the comments below so that we can all work together to help find different treats that work for different dogs. And if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, and share this video anywhere that you think other owner trainers might find it helpful.